Hi there, good evening. You are with the Urban Debate. I'm Seher Sama. If you're living in Delhi, in our national capital, we should be praying that we don't fall victim to another medical mess in the capital. I'm talking about this current ambulance crisis, in which we have only 68% of the ambulance service which is available to us. The BVG, which is the private agency managing ambulances in Delhi, they're accusing the Delhi government of non-payment of dues. And with that, with all of that mess, we're stuck once again in the middle of all of that. The Delhi government is involved in yet another deadlock.
Patients' lives being put at risk in the national capital. With 600 to 650 patients who need to be transferred every day and only about 180 ambulances on the road, Delhi is facing a massive shortage of ambulances.
This is what this means, that most of the patients will have to fend for themselves. Also, there have been instances in the past, and we have spoken with a couple of patients, also spoken with a couple of drivers who drive these ambulances. They told us that there have been instances where in the past one ambulance broke down with a patient. They had to call another ambulance.
The private company handling the ambulance services is blaming non-payment from the government and rising fuel prices as the reasons for the ambulance crunch.
किसी भी गाड़ी की टाइम से कोई मेंटेनेंस नहीं है। सर्विस के नाम पे वह सर्विस भी टाइम से अगर हो तो काम हो, कोई काम नहीं हो रहा है और इसकी वजह से ही सारी गाड़ियों की हालत खराब पड़ी हुई है।
Citizens are left concerned. They worry that in case of an emergency, they may not get an ambulance on time. Mirror now asks, why is the Delhi government playing with lives? Will the government clear pending dues to ensure ambulance services are well maintained? Let's debate.
All right, let's throw this open for discussion to understand what's really plaguing Delhi yet again. This is a crucial service for our health and it's in a state of mess. We have with us our panelists tonight, Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, Padma Shri and Senior Consultant. Ashim Sanyal, CEO for Consumer Voice. M.M. Gupta, Deputy Commissioner of the St. John Ambulance Brigade in Delhi. Tina Sharma, spokesperson of the BJP. Akshay Marathe, AAP spokesperson. And Kumar Shashank, who's the advocate representing BVG, which is handling ambulances in Delhi. Let's make a start with Mr. Kumar Shashank here on this. Help us understand, Mr. Kumar, on what really is the exact crisis, to the extent you have the NHRC issuing a notice to the Delhi government. The Delhi government has a meeting with the BVG and it is still not resolved.
Hi, I missed some parts of what you just said. But long and short is, first of all, the matter is sub judice. So we have made a claim against the Delhi government. But if I may just briefly indicate, there are not many issues that we have had to hire people who are actually employees of CATS. Then for last 10 months, there have been absolutely no payment. In fact, the agency has to fund the fuel and other expenses from its own pockets. So list is quite long and but I see majorly the problem lies in the manner in which these agreements are framed, which don't suit our Indian conditions.
Okay.
So there are quite a few issues.
No, and we would like to get into more details of these issues to understand what's really plaguing the system.
Yeah.
As far as CATS is concerned, right, you're calling the matter sub judice, but we'll still need to thrash out some issues because this is affecting people. As far as CATS is concerned, they continue to say on record there are no payment issues. Payment is given in time.
Yeah. Okay, may I just indicate, for example, 70% of all monthly bills, they're supposed to pay upfront. Remaining they have to process in a month's time. Entire remaining bill hasn't been paid up till now. Now that's a huge chunk. If you expect some private party to perform, at least he needs to have the working capital or at least some margin of profit. So if the 30% of payments they haven't received at all.
Okay. And for how long has this been going on?
I hope you can hear me. Hello? Yeah.
Yes. Kumar,
Not
for how
once,
long
not
has
in a
this been going
single
on? This
month's,
non-payment, half
entire
payment?
payment has been cleared. Since the inception. Since the inception, July 2016.
Okay, so that would make it right. So that would make it 2 years. Let's get in a response here from AAP. Akshay, why isn't this being taken seriously enough? There was a meeting that the Delhi Chief Minister has had with the BVG as well recently, yesterday I believe, and it's been inconclusive. Why isn't there a pressing urgency to resolve this?
Yeah, I have been patched into the debate a little bit late, so I have not seen your initial part of the debate. But what I can tell you about this issue is that undoubtedly there are some delays in payments to the agency, but that delay is only and only because of the fact that the Delhi government has levied certain penalties, as the agency will also tell you. And like you said, the agency met with the Chief Minister recently, and all efforts are on to resolve this matter amicably.
Yes.
There have been issues from the agency's end, for example, not paying staff salaries adequately, and some other breach of the agreements. But I am optimistic that all of these issues will be resolved at the earliest. This is my information as things stand today.
Right, but you're saying that this is because of penalties that has been imposed by the government. Quite honestly, if it wasn't the NHRC taking note of this and sending a notice to the Delhi government would not have met the BVG or even addressed the crisis, because if there are non-payment issues that have been pending right since the start of it, BVG was put on board for their services, which is 2 years ago in 2016, this would have just carried on.
May I just
No, that's not
intervene
true.
for
In
a second
fact,
here?
the fact of the matter is that
10%.
the Delhi government has been trying to work out this issue. You must understand there is also the issue of the Minimum Wages Act, which in Delhi has faced some trouble in the courts. And as a result of that, there has been some confusion and some dispute with the agencies. After the agency has come on board, there's been a change in the Minimum Wages Act in Delhi, which means that there is a need to pay higher salaries for the agency also, which is where some of these fund crunches have also emerged. But let me also tell you that the lack of ambulances being on the road is a very temporary issue. This is not the case. Even the agency, a representative on the show will tell you that for the last 2 years, it's not like ambulances have not been on the road. Delhi has a very good ratio when it comes to the World Health Organization's guidelines, which says that for every 1 lakh citizens, you have to have
is
one ambulance.
is that a healthy ratio? Kumar Shashank, would you correct Akshay on record how what really is temporary? If ambulances, 1/5 of the fleet, if only 68% are operational, how long has this been? And if this crisis doesn't resolve, if you're forced to operate with ambulances that are not functional, if you're forced to operate if there's no money to pay fuel prices rising on a daily basis, how long will this crisis last then?
Let me just make few clarifications. First of all, the minimum wages, you know what has happened? Minimum wages increased in March 2017. And agency has been paying it from its own pockets, and government has not even reimbursed the agency. Also, the contract provides for 95% of the fleet running. So I see I can comment on the legal aspects of it, but I wouldn't know what in medical terms how many ambulances for a city, what ratio is required. I won't know that, but at least the contract provides for 95%. Now, even if you see some breakdowns, I believe anything less than 90% is not good. But if the agency doesn't have the means, the basic finance, at least the working capital, if not anything else, so how do you expect them to perform?
Right.
And in fact,
Mr. M.M. Gupta, you've taken a listen to both sides here.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll get into those details as well on how templates borrowed from abroad don't necessarily work here in Delhi. And despite the fact that we're hoping to look at a world-class city here.
Yeah,
Mr. M.M. Gupta, you've heard both sides of the argument. Main players here.
Just one example.
In your view, Mr. M.M. Gupta, Kumar, coming to you in just a bit. Mr. M.M. Gupta, in your view, how have we reached the crisis at this given point? Reached the crisis to this extent here? What, from your experience, you feel in the workings of the system has been amiss?
First of all, now you see, we have to improve the ratio, availability of ambulances and the population ratio. That's the main thing. And then secondly, whatever ambulances are available, they are not being optimally used, less ill-equipped, and they are not used for the purpose they are meant for. So that is the main reason. Yeah.
Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, do you feel Delhi deserves this nature of an avoidable crisis? And I would like to call this an avoidable mess. We're looking at the national capital here, for God's sake. And you have the Delhi government arguing with an ambulance service provider that they themselves got on board through the tender process 2 years ago and not being able to work it out.
Hi, good evening. Without going into any past or legalities which I'm not privy to, but just focusing on the present facts and the medical needs, I think we cannot say that we are meeting a fair ratio with regards to every 100,000 population with number of ambulances. I think Delhi is having one of the worst and the most hostile traffic situations in India, pan-India, including Delhi. We are losing one citizen every 4 minutes. We lose about 1.5 lakh innocent citizens every year in India because of road traffic accidents. And that's not the only reason why ambulances are used. It's for critical care, it's for cardiac emergencies, fractures, for elderlies, for small infants, for transport. So the full thing actually is not just ambulance services, it's called as transport medicine, which still in India is in its infancy. It's not just having the number of ambulances, and if the number of ambulances is less, that makes the crisis even worse. But the ambulances need to be equipped with the following. So you need a bare minimum amount of infrastructure and technology. You need bare number of equipment for resuscitation and maintenance of the patient. You need skilled manpower in terms of nurses and technicians and doctors. Apart from the fact that you need a green corridor for the ambulances to ply in. If you have lesser number of ambulances and not totally equipped, then you are in a real double whammy. At least as far as we are concerned, in the hospital, in Manipal Hospital, Dwarka, we've launched a fleet of 12 ambulances just last month, which are GPRS enabled. We can actually monitor the patient, stabilize the patient in real time. We can track the laboratory values, the ECG. We can give instructions. It's the golden hour which we need to capture. If you stabilize a patient in the first 30 minutes to 45 minutes of any critical event, including a road accident or a cardiac event, the survival rate and the quality of life which you can give to the patient is that much more enhanced.
Dr. Bagai, I'm going to pick your brains a bit on this, and you gave an example of how ambulances have been provided, which is GPRS equipped here as well. How can really private players come on board, looking at a crisis where we are not even dealing with the total number of ambulances ideally that should be operational in the city? We're looking at just 68% of an available fleet which is functional. Can private players also come on board through private hospitals to pitch in to complete that figure?
Yeah, you see, what really we need to do is you need a base pool of the ambulances. They need to be spread over different parts of the city. Just imagine, I'll take 1 minute for everyone in terms of viewers and the panelists to understand. If the ambulances are parked just in one particular location, say 5 ambulances in a hospital, by the time the ambulance reaches a critical event to pick up a patient, and by the time the patient reaches back to the hospital, you have lost the battle just in the time factor. So we need to decentralize. We need to spread the ambulances in different locations, the more vulnerable points. Again, I'm stressing the ambulances must be totally and fully equipped and skilled manpower. It's not easy, it's not difficult to log in and to actually find out the availability. It can be done with the technology which is available now, and the technology is also available to monitor the patient during transport.
Right. Akshay, if you've understood the workings of the system a little better by listening into these voices, do you still feel, Akshay, do you still feel that this is a crisis which is being dealt with properly by the Delhi government?
Absolutely, I absolutely agree with all the other panelists who have said that there is a need to augment the system. But at the same time, let me assure you and your viewers that when it comes to capacity, it's not that Delhi has fewer number of ambulances than is required. If you look at the sheer numbers, like I had said earlier, for every 1 lakh citizens, you have to have at least one ambulance. Delhi government has a fleet of 265 ambulances. But even apart from that, like the gentleman from Manipal Hospitals was saying, they have a fleet of a few ambulances. Every big private hospital has a fleet of a few ambulances, which means that overall there is not a problem of capacity. Undoubtedly there is a problem of quality which is being worked on. If you look at what our government has done, and we are a government which is very sensitive to these issues, especially of education and healthcare. As soon as we came in 2015, we almost doubled the capacity of the CATS ambulances, which is a government service. We had about 150 or so ambulances till 2014 or 15. And in 2015, we added about 110 new ambulances, which means that there is a process of modernization. Whenever the need is felt to expand the fleet, the Delhi government will do that. But this current problem, like I said earlier, also is a very temporary in nature.
But Akshay, it's not working on ground. You may have expanded, you've got BVG on board to improve the system, but it's not improved the system. And a fallout of that being that it is in turn just reduced the number of working ambulances. It's not as if systems were upgraded either. They were given old ambulances to make do with. They're now struggling with billing issues. They don't have money to fill in fuel. Yes. They were not necessarily being given medical practitioners available, bare minimum training that is available for people on board an ambulance as well. So these figures that you're playing out, if it's not working on ground, at the end of the day, these figures don't matter. No, Akshay, these figures just don't matter. They look good on they look good on paper. They just don't matter if today they're not working on ground. Why should the people of Delhi have patience with this nonsense?
Please allow me to respond.
And you're playing with people's lives. You're playing with people's lives here by saying that this has not been a very old problem. I think even if we look at a week, even if we look at a duration of a week's time, ambulances not enough on ground, not in working condition, you're looking at a rate of 13,000 calls that you get on an average. And you don't have ambulances. First, the response time of the ambulances was 10 minutes. It has been now 25 minutes, and now we've come to the stage where we don't have ambulances in certain areas. How does that look good?
I'm not saying it looks good. All I'm saying is that this is a very specific and temporary problem which is being worked out by both parties. There has been an issue on two fronts. On one front, there has been an issue with the minimum wages, which has been increased. On the other front, there is the issue of rising fuel prices, which frankly is not in either our control or the agency's control. Now, we are, as a government, as a responsible government, you must have seen we have reached out to the agency. We are trying to work things out. I have been in touch with the health ministry, and there is complete optimism that this will be worked out within a few days itself. And when it comes to the availability of ambulances, I agree with you that even for a few days, if there is a shortage of ambulances, it is a problem. But like I clarified earlier, there is a private ambulance fleet which is available in critical conditions, which is available in emergency situations. So it's not that a patient today in Delhi will not get an ambulance.
No. You're getting into a private ambulance fleet. Then we're also talking about affordability. These are affordability issues as well. If private ambulances are coming at a higher cost, people would like to use ambulances available in the Delhi government's fleet. It's not as if you excuse yourself from providing total number of ambulances through the Delhi government, saying that हमारा नहीं है तो ठीक है, प्राइवेट इस्तेमाल करो. Even if it comes expensive for people, why is that? They should have access to ambulances. They're being provided by the Delhi government as well. Let's get in BJP spokesperson Ms. Teena Sharma with us here on board. Teena, in your view, can we have the central government step in on this, in any aspect of the workings of this, given the fact that people, at the end of the day, you have people of Delhi suffering?
Of course, I mean, it's sad and unfortunate that, you know, Delhi government, I mean, I would like to keep, you know, all politics out of the subject, but still I have to make some note of it. And I would say that I actually appreciate Akshay Maratha for accepting lapses on payment front, which is Delhi government's total lapse. And I must bring to your notice that media has been reporting since 2018 June. So this has been coming in, you know, media as well. Newspapers has reported it. But I really need to understand Delhi government has money for everything. They have money for, they have budget allocation for, you know, their advertisement, other things and other things. So I think we must encounter them and we must question them on this front as well, because this is crucial subject for us, for anyone of the country, you know, anyone coming from the country.
But
so
Teena, how about questioning the central government, and we do that every day? How about questioning the central government or what we do on a daily basis as far as rising fuel prices is concerned? One of the reasons that the BVG is also given here is that fuel has gone beyond the budget of affordability. Ambulances are standing idle because there's no money to fill in petrol and diesel for them. So how about countering that in questioning the central government to look at this aspect, this fallout, this repercussion that people are facing of the rising fuel prices?
Of course, there should be some mechanism to, you know, encounter this kind of issues with central government too. But then I would not comment on that because I have no idea on that mechanism what we have with Delhi government and central government. I would say that I'll come to other point where I want to bring in some points that, you know, I already appreciated Akshay Maratha for accepting that Delhi government is lapsing on making payments, but I must bring some notice here where you know, Delhi government is building Mohalla clinic in one of the area where already Apollo hospital is established, which is Sarita Vihar, and there's there's a huge report in the media on that as well.
No, we're not talking about we're not talking about Mohalla clinics. We're talking about the crisis of ambulances. Now, Delhi government has a lot of crises at hand, but tonight, we're specifically talking about ambulances, wherein which one of the points is that fuel prices have also gone out of hand as far as affordability for ambulance services there is concerned as well, in which you can possibly remark. Fuel prices is where I would like to stop as far as this issue here is concerned for the BJP central government to handle.
But I think any government should have, you know, this thing in mind while preparing their tenders or allocating work to the private companies. They understand that fuel prices can go down, can go high. So that kind of margin, you know, every government should keep, at least with such kind of services where you have kept your employees on essential services. It means that, you know, they can't go on a strike. This mandate has come from Delhi government, and we should. This was on November 4, 2017 that they have taken out circular and standardized all manpower as essential services in Delhi CATS ambulances, and they have made it mandatory for every employee to not to go on a strike. So if they can do that, I think they should also have a some backup for such kind of issues. We all know that, you know, fuel prices go up, go down. So this is normal phenomena. I don't think Delhi government shouldn't be prepared for it.
No, it's not normal.
This is what I can say on this. And actually,
no, I'm afraid, Teena, this is not normal. Fuel prices going up to this extent, there's nothing normal about it. There is nothing normal about fuel prices going up on a daily basis by 15 to 20 paisa each given day. Is nothing normal about it. Let's get in Ashim Sanyal, CEO of Consumer Voice, with us as well. Ashim, how do you feel? Does this instill any kind of confidence as far as the assurance here that is coming from the representative of AAP, the Delhi government, on things that are working on ground? Has this instilled any kind of confidence for you listening to this as a representative of consumers, of people?
Well, the admission of the fact that things are not normal has been made, in fact, but that the problem is it's been going on for a pretty long time now, and media has been reporting about it. And it's a pity that thought processes about hiring private ambulances are being invoked. This is something which is already existing, and if anybody visits any hospital, in fact, you'll see a fleet of private ambulances. Now, this is something which obviously is a major emergency service where the government has to step in first, and then in case of any kind of a shortage, the private players will come in. But it's happening other way around. Today we see that government is hardly providing the service to the consumers, and everybody should remember that these ambulances are also the golden hour ambulances where lives are saved because of this particular reason. Now, the private ambulances obviously don't do that kind of a job. They are just fleet carriers. So it is essential that ground level action is taken by the government, Delhi government, in terms of either payments or basically, looking at the fuel hike and things like that, making some contingency plan. This is an emergency, in my opinion. This is a complete emergency and definitely a detriment for the consumer to even think of actually calling up the number, the helpline number, because the ambulances won't come. And this is very recently somebody reported in one of the media stories and that they had to wait for 1.5 hours to get a no from the ambulance service because of either shortage of driver or because of shortage of services. So this is an emergency situation, and it is just not acceptable that we say that we are taking necessary action. Action has to be taken now. Action has to be taken because it's been reported for the last 2 years almost, and this decline has been gradual. This decline has now been reported in terms of statistics, but we all knew that half the fleet is lying idle because of maintenance. Now, what kind of a maintenance contract with a private contract? Is it like DTC where again half the fleet is in the depots? I mean, there are a lot of questions to be asked, and I don't think the center can step in every time this kind of a situation arises. My personal opinion is that this is purely a state subject. The state has to handle it sensitively, intelligently, and has to act on an immediate basis now that it has been escalated to a position where we see the numbers dwindling to 108, which is admissible. Admissible lapse by the government. One ambulance per say 50,000-60,000 people is something which is ridiculous. So it is action time now, overnight probably.
Akshay, would you like to respond to that?
Of course.
I think all the concerns are fair. They're absolutely serious, and like I have been saying on this show from the beginning, the Delhi government is very serious about the healthcare issue in Delhi, and it's not a question of lack of funds. We have enough funds. We have almost increased the budget by over 56% since last year. But the problem, like I said earlier, was with the fact that we have imposed some penalties on the agency, and because of those penalties being imposed, the payments have been delayed. It's not that we are delaying payments like how it was in the case of the oxygen in Uttar Pradesh, where we didn't want to do it. We want to do it. We have given notice to the agency. We have tried to resolve this matter amicably. Today, I can say with confidence that after the meeting between the Chief Minister and the agency, this will get resolved sooner than later. And like I have said before also,
Akshay, what exactly are these penalties? What are these harsh penalties and clauses which is impacting the workings of the system here? What are these penalties which is not having a positive impact on ground, which is not helping the ambulance fleet to be operational on ground? What's the point in having these penalties then?
Look, the point of having any such penalties, especially in the case when there is a public-private partnership, is that when you have a private player working in a field so critical as healthcare, you have to have a government that takes regulation very seriously, because any lapse from the private player will be taken on the government, like you're asking questions today from the government. which is why these penalties have been put in place. That tomorrow, when the accountability has to be asked of someone, it will have to be with the Aam Aadmi Party government. So we are also responsible, and therefore we have to keep the agency accountable when it comes to certain agreements like this. The agreement is very simple, that they have to keep a minimum number of ambulances functional at any given point, which today my figures are that there are 90% ambulances out there. But because of the fuel prices issue for the last few days, I do completely accept.
Why are you insisting on these figures?
However,
what are your figures
I
with respect to the notice here that has been sent in by the NHRC, which says that only 68% ambulances are operational? How does it matter if you're saying 90%? Yes, please step in.
No, the NHRC has only acted on a complaint, which is not the NHRC's figures. 68% is not the NHRC's figure. The Delhi government's figure is 90%.
Step in at this point. Yes, you want to raise...
However, like I said, because of the fuel prices...
I have a point to make here. I have a point to make here.
Yeah, I have a few points to make.
I have a point to make here. See, Akshay, whatever you're trying to explain here is not working out, because we have other panelists who are expert on, you know, such services, and they're airing their view, and the only one sitting here and, you know, somewhat trying to question you and the and trying to make people aware what you're doing in the Delhi government.
Right, Tina, please make your point.
I'm getting little lesser voice. I am just trying to make my point. As a responsible citizen, I had gone through the website of the company in question, BVG, and found that they are providing similar services in state of Maharashtra. Exactly similar services in the state of Maharashtra. And they are doing fine. Why is the Delhi government dragging feet on the payments? Is a Delhi patient life that lesser valued than that of a patient in Maharashtra? And I have another point to make out here is also private ambulances fleet that patient, the patient and divert them to private hospitals wherein they get paid higher or separately. So I think these are the things which should be, kept in consideration when we are questioning Aam Aadmi Party spokesperson. Delhi government has been showing
that's the point.
As someone who spent 20 years of my life in Maharashtra, let me assure you that Maharashtra situation is 100 times worse than Delhi.
Kumar Shashank, if you could step in at this point, pointing out how has it been working with the Maharashtra government and the BVG ambulance services working perfectly fine, and what has been so difficult here in Delhi? Kumar Shashank, please.
Recently saw their advertisements in
newspapers. Yes.
And Maharashtra is a much larger state to deal with.
I can't speak
and it's still a smooth operation there. Let's take that into account.
Yes,
Kumar, please go ahead.
Exactly. See, few things your viewers must know. First of all, almost 30 ambulances are rendered for VIP services. Then the entire manpower is of the Delhi government. So we virtually have no control over it. They run amok. The ambulances belong to the Delhi government. They are old. Some of them are as old as 10 years, and they require frequent maintenance. Maharashtra, we aren't having any of these problems. Lastly, my learned friend from Aam Aadmi Party emphasized the penalty aspect. See, the penalty at best, what they can levy is 10%. That is not being told to you. So even assuming that they cut 10%, I am supposed to get 90 rupees. Even that I am not getting. This is precisely the problem. Out of 100, I am only getting not even 70. So how do you expect me to function at all?
So you are on record accepting that you have to be levied a penalty. That means you have been making mistakes, and yet you have the gall to say that you should still get the rest of the payment.
Assuming. I use the word assuming.
Is that
but
what we
should?
I'm saying assuming.
I have a point to make here.
I use the word.
If company is making mistake, you had enough time to encounter it.
Assuming.
If company has made mistake,
Sir,
if a private player has made mistake,
fault, why don't you drag the Delhi government to court?
Please.
If you're denying any fault, why are you not challenging this? We are trying to amicably solve this problem.
Why have you been sweeping over the issue? That is my question to you.
You can completely deny.
Right, but Akshay, at the end of the day,
Delhi State,
where are the funds going? Akshay, where are the funds going then? Because even CATS, first, the entire existing system has
going in
only been further
advertisements.
complicated by AAP. I'm sorry to say this. 2016 onwards, you got BVG into the system. CATS through BVG operating ambulances. It was a straighter system earlier. You tried to bring in reform and you've made a mess of it. As far as CATS is concerned, they continue to say in record there are no delays in payment issues whatsoever. BVG is saying we don't have the payments. Where's all the money going? Let's ask that to the Delhi government then. What's going on here? Akshay.
Look, BVG is saying that they're not getting payments, which I am also accepting. The BVG is not getting payments because there is a penalty issue that's pending.
But then just accepting
I have already
doesn't make
clarified all
sense.
of these issues, and so you allow me to finish. You please, you've asked me a question. Please give me some time to finish. Okay.
Are we bringing in more ambulances in the
Can
fleet?
I come in, please?
Till the time these other till the time the other staff members are facing penalty, are you bringing in more ambulances in the fleet then?
Delhi government already has more ambulances than it used to. We used to have 150 ambulances in 2015. As soon as we came in, we almost doubled our
What is the point?
How can that be a
Akshay, what do you want me to say here?
We have actually
Akshay,
expanded
congratulations.
We have actually expanded
Congratulations that in the past 2 years you've increased the number of ambulances in the fleet, but it is still not up to the mark. It is still not up to the mark. We're still falling short of services.
That is
Dr.
the question.
Sanjeev Bagai, you wanted to step in. Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, please go ahead.
Of course.
They don't have
Of
technical
course,
staff.
because-
Things are not running well.
Because the Aam Aadmi Party government has
All
higher
right.
standards for itself.
Let's hear what
I
Dr.
agree that
Sanjeev
more
Bagai
needs
has
to
to
be
say.
done. I agree more needs to be done, but I'm saying that we have already done more than what any other previous government had done before.
No, not at all. Not at
Dr.
all.
Sanjeev.
I just want to make
All
a...
right. Okay, Tina, we got your point. Dr. Sanjeev, please go
Just
ahead.
want to make one point
The
here.
Aam Aadmi Party government's healthcare model is being praised around the world. In that situation, I agree that the Aam Aadmi Party has set higher
Except for the
standards
people
for
of
itself.
Delhi
And
who
from
are not
that
getting
point of
access
view,
to
I
the
know that
service.
there is more to be done.
Just on the
No,
There is
you
more
want
be
to
done,
use
but
all
that
these
does not mean that
so-called
we have made
global...
a mess of the system. We have
You want
actually
to
improved the
use
system.
these so-called global
we have
markers
actually
and
improved the
statistics
system.
as
We
your
have
trump
doubled
card
the
here,
fleet
but
of
it's not working
ambulances.
here.
We have
I
added
don't think the people
3,000
of Delhi are
beds
happy with
to
this
Delhi.
situation. Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, please go ahead. Akshay, we got your point. Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, yes.
Yeah, I think I just have a very small, humble submission to make to everyone. I think an ambulance is not a white car with a painted red cross. The ambulance has a enormous role to play. It's the retrieval of the patient. It's the type and the kind and specifications of the equipment. I think a patient can make huge progress if the patient is stabilized at the site of retrieval. And I think what we need to do across the board for all ambulances is the bare minimum standard. I think apart from the maintenance and apart from all the politics, what we need to do is we need to chalk out how many are advanced lifesavers, how many are basic lifesavers, what kind of equipment is there, what kind of skilled manpower is there. Trust me, we can turn patients around to the progressive positivity if we have good service during transport. We can link them with GPRS. I think cost factor is one thing, at least as far as Manipal Dwarka Hospital is concerned, our patient retrieval we are giving free of cost. There is no cost charged at all to retrieve a patient. And I think we owe this to the society. We owe this to patients which are in need. And imagine a patient who is lying on the road or in moments of cardiac crisis with no retrieval. That patient can die right then and there. I think this is why we need to step in as not only a medical community, but a social community. Last point which I would like to make is public awareness. I think people must know what number to dial in cases of emergency. People must know what the emergency numbers are, what route to take, what the pathway forward is. And I think the Delhi government and all other social issues can be raised and the people can be reached out to so that there is a better public campaign for this.
All right, well put there, of course, Dr. Sanjeev Bagai as always. But Kumar, if you heard that, apart from just providing a sufficient number of ambulances in the fleet for the Delhi government, Mr. Kumar Shashank, has there also been a system of reform in adding sophisticated ambulances, in adding staff that comes from the medical community. Has this also been part of the plan as far as BVG with the Delhi government is concerned? Or are we still just reducing it to petty issues of non-payment of bills, unavailability of fuel?
See, keeping in view that this is an essential service, it is possible to work this thing around. In my view, there are few clauses of the contract which needs to be amended. Also, what ex-employees who are not very trained, a lot of unionism and many instances of violence. You wouldn't believe that people had their heads fractured and legs broken for like twice over. Also, the fleets are old. If some clauses are tweaked, in fact, theoretically, there are 3 different categories of ambulances with all trained staff. The contract provides for all of it. The issue is of running them. The requisite parameters are already there. The things are already there. The staff, the ambulances, everything is there. But obviously, if fuel prices are rising, at least for ambulances, there should be some provision that rising fuel prices don't have an impact. There should be some disbursement on account of keeping in mind the fuels have risen, which the parties never contemplated when they entered into the contract. So I believe it is workable, provided parties sit together and try and resolve it amicably.
Tina Sharma of the BJP, would you like to step in at this point? Now, this is a suggestion that's coming in from the person in the business of medical, saying that it amounts, and mark my words here, because this is going to be a very sharp criticism. It amounts to medical negligence if a city, if a capital city cannot have an operational ambulance fleet because of fuel prices. Can the central government take that into consideration for once?
I think that's a very valid question. But then I must ask my co-panelist, spokesperson, our party. They have money for everything. They have money for printing advertisements. They spent 10,000 crore on one single advertisements. And this has been, they've been saying that this is their priority in Delhi, education and health. So they have miserably lapsed, miserably failed on this front. So let me also, Akshay, I think
no,
we shouldn't be debating
that's a valid point, Akshay.
If that is not the case,
if health continues to be a priority for AAP,
if you continue talking about your Mohalla clinics,
figures.
She just made up a figure. She just made up a figure in terms of our advertisement.
You should be focusing as much on having an operational ambulance fleet as well.
In terms of our
ad, through this 1 hour of discussion, Akshay, all that you've said is that the number of ambulances you've added on the fleet, but there are equal number of ambulances that are just standing, not operational.
Your BJP panel just made up, just cooked up a figure.
Aam Aadmi Party is being so
fact-checking on this show?
That
the BJP panelists just cooked up a figure.
You are cooking up figures as well.
Your BJP panelists
Akshay, cooking up figures for the past 1 hour and saying 90% of the ambulances are operational. That's such a lie. That is an absolute lie. You have only 68% of the ambulances operational, which is not even 90% of the fleet. I'm afraid this continues to remain a matter which is absolutely unresolved, and the Delhi government is showing no urgency. They've had a sitting with the BVG, but there is still a tall list of demands here. And these are basic demands for bills to be paid. And the Delhi government will need to wake up before a life is lost. So far, we've only had reports of ambulances being delayed, reaching 40 minutes late, reaching 20 minutes late. But let's not have a life lost just because the government could not provide an ambulance service in time. For every little mess we've seen how the Delhi government continues to blame the centre. It is quick to cry foul, it is quick to play the victim card, and it is quick to blame the LG's office here as well. But this ambulance crisis is in your hands, is a message to the Delhi government. And the people of Delhi will not forget on how you have abused their votes, you have abused their trust. Stop playing the victim card. Do some real work on ground. Appreciate all those voices here that have come in tonight. Thanks for being with us.